is I complain a lot about, I spend a lot of time talking about sexism in Silicon Valley, about the issues of diversity. We think it's very important on the Recode site. We devote a lot of attention to it. Many years ago, I wrote a piece called The Men and No Women of Facebook. I followed it up by another blockbuster, The Men and No Women of Web 2.0 boards. It's a big issue, and I think it's important to address. At the same time, you don't want to spend your life complaining about what is, and let me just say, a game system for white guys, it just is, and also a system that is not as tolerant as it purports itself to be. As I said, it's a meritocracy, not a meritocracy. That said, it's the state of play right now, and it doesn't mean it won't change. Lots of things change. But you don't want to focus on necessarily that, but you are living within this ecosystem. You are living with a depressing number of statistics about women in computer science, about women in jobs, about a diverse workforce, and everything else. This is the state of play there. Just a little while ago, I was on a panel with a bunch of young entrepreneurs. To say the problem is an older legacy problem is not something that's actually factual. And I was with an entrepreneur, I think he was about 12 years old. And someone there was a bunch of interns about what advice you would give. I, of course, said you should have more sex and stop thinking you're going to be Mark Zuckerberg. It's a good piece of advice, but they were all very earnest about what they wanted to do because they're highly ambitious people. They sort of tip the country and the very ambitious people that out there. They all do think they're going to be Mark Zuckerberg. So one of the questions was talking about the issue of diversity, especially gender diversity in Silicon Valley. And this young entrepreneur next to me, a young man, it's a woman who asked the question, and he said to her, the answer was, what you really need to do is ignore the sexism. Just pretend it's not there. Which I thought was an astonishing answer. Like, oh, I'm sorry, I just got mugged, I'll pretend I didn't get hit. So it was kind of like, and I was sort of like, wow, that's a really ignorant answer. In terms of how people have to deal with it, and they have to deal with consistent microaggressions. I think we all understand what that means, is you get a series of microaggressions over the course of any career, any job, and then you complain about individual ones and you seem like a bitch. Collectively, it's a problem. And I do think it is something that Silicon Valley, both men and women, because they both have to be part of the solution, are interested in. I think there is a change in it, at least they're talking about, even if it's just lip service to it. But we have to continue to keep talking about it. And unfortunately, it's got to be the women who do it, because even though there's a lot of men allies, it's something you have to say. I was talking to Sheryl Sandberg recently, and she was talking about being on the Disney board and how she's the one that always has to bring up women's issues. And she gets tired of it, like anyone else, and she's the one on the board bringing it up. One of her big things is, if you notice, Disney princesses, she's like, I like Disney princesses, my daughter likes Disney princesses, but can one of them have a fucking job? It's like, good point, that's a fair point from Sheryl. Sheryl's talking her idea of lean in, which I think is actually, she's one of the bigger proponents of these issues in Silicon Valley. And a lot of people complain that you have to lean in, and it's too bad it's your fault, you're the one that has to do it, but the fact of the matter is you do. Until it changes, until you make a change. And I think I want to go away with just a couple of Bs that you have to do going forward, if there's 4 or 5 of them. I'm going to use quotes because I'm not as articulate. One is be confident. It's just critically important to do that. I have a quote from Marie Curie. Life is not easy for any of us, but what of it? We must have perseverance and above all confidence in ourselves. We must believe that we are gifted for something, and this must be, that this thing must be attained. I cannot underscore it enough. The men I deal with in Silicon Valley are largely more confident than the women, even though the women are mostly more competent, which is kind of an interesting thing. It's a critical thing in Silicon Valley and in tech, using Silicon Valley as the thing for tech, because it's super important to be the second thing, which is be ignorant. Okay? That means tell yourself lies a lot of the time. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, lying to yourself is a really good characteristic. All you need in this life is ignorance and confidence, and then success is sure, which is Mark Twain. I think that's actually true. You really do have to believe beyond other people. You have to keep going at an idea. And you can't be completely stupid, as many startups can be, but you do have to sort of suspend disbelief and have a belief that will carry others, especially if you have it's going in and out. If you have a great idea, it's really important to be completely ignorant. of things around you and ignore them. And that's a really hard thing, I think, for a lot of people. And again, I don't like to make cliches, but it is harder for women who do notice the problem and don't pretend that things exist that are not problems. Again, I have 2 sons. I love my sons, but they're often so confident. It astonishes me. I've learned so much about gender and nature through having 2 boy kids. When they do something, they're always fantastic. It's really kind of amazing. Even when I say, that sucks, they're always like, no, that was really good. I go, no, it sucks. They're like, no, it was fantastic. And it goes back and forth. It's a really interesting, I'm sorry, it's a really interesting thing that they have. And I'm not sure if you could bottle it, but I think it's a really important way to be. The third one is be bold. It is best to act with confidence no matter how little right you have to it. That's Lillian Hellman. It's a really important idea, is to continually, this keeps going in and out, I'm going to be bold and hit the guy in the back. I think it's really important to be bold and push yourself through. I know that's, again, super hard for everyone. There's a great, and I'll talk about Amy Schumer later, because I'm a huge fan of hers. Here we go again. Where she talks, there's a video, if you haven't seen it, it's called the I'm Sorry video, where she has a panel of like a nuclear physicist, a Pulitzer Prize winner, and they're all apologizing. Oh, I'm sorry, no, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. You should watch it if you haven't seen it. You shouldn't say sorry as much as people do for what you're doing. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to push yourself absolutely through without an I'm sorry, and it's a really difficult thing to develop, but it's critically important. At the same time, be cautious. You have to find the people who you need to trust when you're an entrepreneur. You have to depend on a tight group of people. It's really critical to find this. I've had a partner for many years, Walt Mossberg. I always say he's the best male relationship I've ever had, except my kids now. But he's been amazing in terms of supportive and been a confidant, and it's really important to create a team, a small, intimate team. I think of this quote from George Washington: be courteous to all, but intimate with a few. Let those few be well tried before you give them your confidence. It's a really critical thing to do. You cannot be a lone entrepreneur either. I think most of the successful Silicon Valley companies have 1 or 2 people that work together, 2 co-founders and things like that. The last few things, which I always say, is at the same time, when you're dealing with people, you should be wary. There's a saying in journalism: if your mother says she loves you, check it. I think. Are you sure, Mom? Can you imagine me growing up? I mean, I was so irritated with my mother. I think it's really important to really constantly be checking and be wary of the people you're affiliating with. Oh, that one works. The last 3, I think, 4 are be unapologetic. Again, the same thing comes from Amy Schumer. I am a woman with thoughts and questions and shit to say. Please have shit to say and say it. It's a very important thing. I think lots of things change because people are loud and they say things. In that genre, be loud. And there's a great quote by Longfellow: if you only knock loud and long enough at the gate, you're sure to wake someone up. Wake people up. If you have a point, do not be quiet and sit in the corner and be a light under a bushel. The last 2, I think, are critically important. Be realistic. Life is short. Do not waste your time. Steve Jobs had a very famous quote in a speech he gave at Stanford. I urge you to watch it. His life was short. By the way, that movie is awful. It's much more interesting than that movie. It's like a TV movie. Anyway, I like Aaron Sorkin, but I don't like that movie. And I knew Steve Jobs pretty well, but I think he really understood the shortness of life and how you have a compact amount of time. And so be realistic about what you're going to accomplish. He actually, interestingly enough, if you think about it, the most innovative stuff he did was in the years he was very sick and was dying. The iPad, the iPhone, all the different innovations that Apple was really known for and has changed the world. They really have. We're all done when he was dying. We're all dying, of course. I don't want to get all bummered on you. But at the same time, be aware that you're not indispensable. My grandmother, who was an hysterical Italian lady, she's born in Italy, when I used to say I was super busy, she would say, come see me, I'm super busy, I got this, I got that, I got this. And she'd go, the graveyards are full of busy people. I remember this day, made me laugh so hard. She also said, intelligence has its limitations, stupidity is infinite, but that's a whole other story. The last thing is be hopeful. I think one of the things that's hard, it's easy to become cynical in this world. I'm incredibly cynical. It works for me, and I am an entrepreneur, but one of the great parts of being an entrepreneur is I'm actually very hopeful. I always think things will turn out. I always push through when other people are in a state of mind. We're trying to innovate journalism at Recode and other places, and Vox, who recently bought us. I think you have to really be hopeful that it's going to turn out for the best, even in the face of difficulty. It's the most important thing, besides confidence, besides being loud, besides being unapologetic. I think it's super important to be hopeful. There's a great quote from Angels in America, which is one of my favorite plays, which is, "The world only spins forward." I think we've seen that time and again. I think it's about the AIDS crisis. That happened about the AIDS crisis. But the idea is that things will change and for the better, despite the fact that now we have Donald Trump running for president. Makes me question the spinning forward part. We are spinning slightly backwards right now. But the fact of the matter is things do change. They change in social justice. They change for women's rights. They change for all the important things, which is about all our rights. So it's really important to get out there and create these businesses, because I do believe businesses do change the way we all live and can set the tone for our society. And so I urge you to go out there, make your great companies, fail, pivot, do whatever, and just keep going. And if you feel disheartened, just remember everyone's having the same experience, and to seek friendships and seek help from other people. And that's why you should all go right now and drink your ass off inside. Thank you for the great day. Thank you to all the speakers, and thank you for putting this on. I'm going to get on a plane now and have a drink of my own. Thank you so much.